The Adventures of Bud Nupel, Intergalactic Space Trader. Telepathically dispatched. It was one of those sunny days in February that seem to drag on forever when you're downtown driving a taxi cab. All of the usual cab stands in front of the hotels and the bus station were lined up solid with taxis, many of which had been standing for nearly 2 hours. I had taken the first-up position in front of the Pacific Plaza Hotel at 4th and Spring, mainly because no one else really wanted it. The spot was not known as a very busy cab stand, and my own experience had proved that long ago. Still, mine was the only taxi there, and I would get the first thing to come up. I knew it was going to take a miracle to show a profit for the day, and I knew a miracle wasn't likely behind a long line of other drivers waiting for a miracle. I had been sitting in that spot for just over an hour and had already read everything in the morning newspaper but the classifieds. I got out of my cab to stretch my legs and feel the warmth of the late winter sun before it went behind the Seafirst Bank building. Just then, a middle-aged lady hurried across the street from the library and came up to my cab. "Can you get me to Bellevue in a hurry?" she said breathlessly. "I'm supposed to be in court over there in 20 minutes, and my car just broke down." "That doesn't leave you with any time to spare," I said, looking at my watch. "But I should be able to get you there on time." "Oh, thank you," she said as she climbed into the back seat. "I'll lose my driver's license if I'm not in Bellevue District Court by 1 o'clock today. I just can't understand why my car suddenly broke down. I was going up 4th Avenue, and the whole electrical system just died. It's a brand new car, and I've only been driving it a month. I just didn't have the time to wait for it to be fixed. It's lucky for me you were sitting right where I needed you." "Yeah, I guess so," I said as I headed for the Dearborn exit on I-5. I managed to get the woman to the Bellevue District Court 2 minutes before her court time. She gave me a $20 bill, told me to keep the change, and hurried into the courthouse. I pulled out of the parking lot and headed north towards the Northeast 8th Freeway on-ramp. I had gone about a block and a half when I looked down at my dashboard gauges and noticed that my electrical system was not charging. I muttered a curse and pulled into a vacant lot to take a look under the hood. What suddenly caused that to happen, I wondered as I got out of my cab. I popped the hood, opened and examined the electrical system, but everything seemed to be okay. The battery connections were clean and tight, and all the wires looked to be in good shape. The alternator and regulator had been replaced the week before, so I couldn't imagine what was wrong. While I was standing there pondering my electrical problems, a casually dressed man, who looked to be in his 50s, appeared from almost nowhere and asked me if I could take him to the nearest grocery store. I knew there was a Safeway less than a half a mile away, and I knew there was nothing I could do about my electrical problem in that vacant lot, so I said, "Sure, get in." I closed the hood and got back behind the wheel of my cab while the man got in the back seat. After I started up the car, I noticed my alternator gauge registering a strong charge. "I hope that doesn't start discharging again," I said to myself. "There's a Safeway 2 or 3 blocks from the other side of the freeway," I said. "Safeway? Safeway. Yes, that will do quite nicely," he said thoughtfully. I assumed by his reply that he was not familiar with the area, but I wondered what he was doing wandering around that vacant lot. Maybe he had just gotten out of court down the street and was looking to buy a drink somewhere. That might explain his pale, gaunt appearance and the fact that he didn't seem to know where he was. I pulled into the Safeway parking lot. The meter read at $1.80. "Please wait for me," he said, and dropped a $10 bill on the front seat. There was a place to park right next to the front door, so I pulled into it and shut off my engine. The man fumbled with the door handle, got out of the car, and walked into the store. I watched him walk up to the first checker and ask her something. She pointed to an aisle at the other end of the store, then called for someone on her PA microphone. I saw who seemed to be the store manager walk up and start talking to the man. They both disappeared into one of the aisles for a minute, then came back out and walked over to the frozen food section in the middle of the store. They talked for another minute, then both walked over to the first check stand. The manager said something to the cashier, who then punched out some numbers on the cash register. The man handed some money to the cashier, who returned him some change. Then he and the cashier walked over to the entrance of the store, where there was a pile of empty boxes. The man picked out 2 of the largest ones and went out the door to the pile of Presto logs in front of the store. He motioned to me as he started to stack the compressed sawdust logs into the boxes. "I'm glad you've got a station wagon," he said. "I'm getting 4 dozen of these logs, and then we'll have to go around to the loading dock to get the rest of my purchase."
Whoa!
"How much more stuff are you getting?" I asked as I heaved a box full of Presto logs into the back of my wagon. "Oh, just another 5 or 6 cases of goods," he said casually. "Just another 5 or 6 cases," I said to myself. I decided I'd better fold down the back seat to make room for it all. I loaded in the second box of logs. Then we both got in the front seat and I drove around to the back of the store. The manager was waiting for us at the loading dock. Next to him were 2 cases of TV dinners, 2 50-pound bags of rice, and 2 cases of generic toilet paper. It was a tight fit, but I managed to get it all in the back with the Presto logs. "Where to now?" I asked the man as I started my cab. "I need to go to Edgewood Road," he said slowly. "Edgewick Road," I repeated. The name sounded familiar, but I couldn't place where it was. "Is that out in Redmond?" I asked. "No, it's out past 436th Avenue on the eastbound freeway," he said. 136th, I said, misunderstanding what he had said. That's not far from here." The man shook his head. "No, I said 436th Avenue. 436th? I was beginning to think the man had escaped from Western State Hospital, or that may be the best place for him. Then I remembered the last time I had been east over the pass. There was a 436th exit past the town of North Bend, about 25 miles east of Bellevue on I-90. The Edgewick Road exit was another 4 miles east of North Bend on the interstate. Edgewick Road connected with several Forest Service roads, including one that went 20 miles up the middle fork of the Snoqualmie River. I had been up that road years ago to get to some wilderness hiking trails. "Oh, Edgewick Road," I said, nodding my head. "That's just east of North Bend, isn't it?" "That is the correct location," the man said. He sat back, smiled, and stared blankly out the window straight ahead of him. I took the southbound on ramp I-405 and headed for the Factoria interchange to I-90. To be continued.